and today I'm going to share some of my favorite podcasts or some of my newer podcasts I've listened to since our other video in July. It's been a while. And I found so many good podcasts, and I'm doing it alone because I listen to podcasts like way more than Lissa. And she was like, I don't want to just sit there and nod because I don't know any of these things. So I'm going to share with you. I have some different topics based on what the podcasts are about. The first one is business or fun, a little more chill, not as deep. Family and marriage, and then faith. So that would be like comparable to like Daily Grace Company and just like talking about faith things. So I will leave the timestamps on the screen. There you go. And then I'll also link them down below. So if you're just interested in the faith ones or whatever, you can skip ahead and just jump right into those. So first category, business or fun. So one I found is called But What's Next with Michelle Reed. I like this one because it's kind of like a vlogging, like what she talks about is kind of like vlogging, but it's on a podcast. So it's fun. And she talks a lot about like real life, like just dealing with business, and like she has a lot of different stuff. So definitely check her out for a fun one. The next one I love for like my Etsy shop, and she's given me like so much advice. So that one's called Painted Pieces. She owns a shop that's actually pretty big, like 60,000 sales. And she talks a lot about Etsy and Instagram and marketing. And so I really love her podcast because it gives a lot of practical tips. Another one is new. This is actually done by my friends. It's called In Progress with Abby and Amanda. And so make sure you look up In Progress with Abby and you should be able to find it. This one, there's only a couple episodes out, which is so sad, but they have, Abby's a photographer, Amanda owns a Beloved one, which we've talked about so many times, and they share just some of their business tips, how to market things, price things. I really enjoyed what they have. If they have more, I'd love it. But at least listen to what they have. It is a great podcast. The last one in the business and fun category is Small Fry, and Amanda also did this one. It is so fun. Like honestly, one of the highlights of my week every week, because she just talks and she's one of my favorite people. So she just so fun, and like I feel like we had very similar like home lives and like growing up and stuff. And so what she talks about from her childhood or like being homeschooled is just so fun, and I relate a lot to that. Second category is family and marriage. Disclaimer, not married. Clearly, I'm in high school, but I do love listening to couples and their podcast, and just I like learning while I can, because I think it's better to be prepared for different stages of life before you're necessarily in them. And so I do listen to them. They also have a bunch that aren't marriage or family related. They have a bunch that are just on faith, but they are each couples that have podcasts, and I really enjoy them. First one is Forward Conversations. I feel like it's very good. It's applicable to any age. They have a ton. They kind of talk like becoming something, like that style, but they also have longer episodes, which I love, and they have a lot of just practical theology and practical just living for Jesus and evangelism and stuff. And so I've really been loving that one. I found them a couple weeks ago, and I've been listening to a bunch of old ones. And then the second one is Now That We're a Family with Elisha and Katie Vogtberg. I love this one. Guys, these two have been my favorites recently, and I'm not even kidding. Just like so fun. They do a ton. They've had over 100 episodes, so I'm like going back listening to the old ones. But they do also same idea. They're from large families, so they talk a lot about like family life and marriage, stuff like that. Like I said, I think it's good to prepare for those times, not to be obsessed over them, but just to have different perspectives and ideas going into different things. So that's all I found for the family and marriage section. Last section is the faith section. Like I said, this would be kind of like Daily Grace, where it's mainly Bible topics, and they just talk about scripture in a very real way. All of these podcasts are Christian, but these ones talk more like about faith-related things, if that makes sense. So, first one is Truth Talks with Tara. That's hard to say. She is really fun. She is like 20-something. She's pretty big on Instagram as Tara Sun. We've talked about her in our YouTuber video, and I love her podcast. She has a bunch of singles. She has a bunch that she does like as interviews. Those are really fun. Honestly, so much truth in every one of them. So good. Okay, so we have talked so much about Girl Defined with their books, their YouTube channel. Well, they just launched a podcast, and that is called The Girl Defined Show. Honestly, I love their podcast so much. Like, so much better than their YouTube channel, which is already pretty good. And she listens to only like a couple podcasts a week. So the Girl Defined Show is one of them that she really cares about and that she really enjoys. And so it's been fun to talk about like the different episodes they do and whatever. They just launched, so they don't have a ton yet, but definitely give them a follow. The next one is She Reads Truth. This one, they have a ton of episodes. I'm not as familiar with their podcast yet, but I've loved their blog. It was recommended to me like a couple weeks ago. I didn't even know they had a podcast. So again, going back through some of their archives, and I do really like the stuff they say. It has a lot of similarities with like Daily Grace, just very based in scripture, and I really appreciate that. Another one is Bless It or Block It with Cami Jones. I really like her podcast. She also does some like business stuff, which I found really fun, and I like getting tips for that type of stuff. So she has a bunch of business stuff, she has faith stuff, and she's just like kind of involved in a lot. So I really like her different perspectives. Another one is called Good Enough with Andrea Burke. Now, some of these I'm saying the names just so you can find them, because sometimes there's like more than one of the same title. So Good Enough with Andrea Burke, very similar to Becoming Something, lots of good conversation, and she has really good guests on there too, which I really appreciate. Sometimes people come on for a few episodes, but it's her and then whoever she brings on. And she does have some single ones, I believe, but I just love their topics. Like she's not afraid to get deep and to get personal into different matters, and so I've really loved some of theirs. Another one is Strength and Dignity with Kelsey Pryor. She's, I would say, probably like 19 or 20. She's definitely younger. I really like her podcast because she talks a lot about modern Christian living, and I like hearing it from a younger perspective because it's more relatable than maybe someone who's like 25, 30, 35. So I do really like her podcast. She's had her mom on several times. She's had different people on. I think it's a newer podcast, but it's really good. I've listened to most of hers. Next, which I also just heard of this one, is the Revive Our Hearts podcast, Nancy Lee DeMoss. Now, we have loved Nancy DeMoss for like years and years. I had no idea she had a podcast till Amanda, actually. She told us about this podcast, and I was like, I didn't know you had a podcast. So I've been going back this past week, and it is so good. Like, so good. She's just so much truth. She has a lot of wisdom, but she presents it in a very clear, personal way, not showy or anything like that. So I've been really liking that. And most of them are shorter than like Daily Grace ones. So they're normally like 20 or 30 minutes. Still in the faith category, we have Becoming a Disciples with Lisa Henley and Felisa Masonheimer. This they did like a long time ago, like a few years ago, but it's still on Spotify, and I follow them both on Instagram, so that's how I heard of it. Guys, this podcast, so good. Honestly, probably any topic you can find, they would have something on it. So I'm literally listening through all of them because I love them both, and they have so much truth. Like, I'm just amazed. So if you listen to our first one, Felisa Felicia now does Verity on her own, but this is a few years ago. But it's still like really relevant. They have tons on women's issues, women like singleness, college life, family life. They honestly, I think, cover it all. So I've been loving their podcast and going through the archives and listening to like them all in order because I think that's fun. All right, next is Women of Worth with Lexi Thierry. I found her on YouTube and she's so good. She's honestly one of my favorite YouTubers, so pro tip, you can look her up on YouTube as well. She does like vlogs and family style on YouTube. On her podcast, she does a lot of just Christian living, but she's very strong in her faith. And I think several of them are, but she's not afraid to show it. And so honestly, she's definitely one of my favorite podcasters as well. She does most of them by herself. She does some with people. So it's like a good mix. Last one for the video. So Amanda just launched another podcast. This girl has done like 3 podcasts in 2 months. I'm honestly amazed. Anyway, she has launched an Oh Beloved One podcast. So basically, I think it's going to be like the blogs she puts up on her blog are going to be more like podcast format. So she has 1 episode out now, but like guys, follow it. I am so excited. I don't read like a ton of blogs. I normally do podcasts, but I do like try to read hers every week. And now that it's podcast, like I'm not going to miss one because they're just my favorite. So hopefully that gave you some podcast ideas. I went through those pretty quick. I didn't want this to be a super long video for you guys, but hopefully you got some new ideas. Let me know what podcasts you love or if you have heard of any of these. If you have any questions about any of these podcasts, just let me know. Honestly, I love geeking out about podcasts. It's like on Instagram, if there's any like, what podcast do you like little boxes things, I just like message them like a whole list, like not even kidding. But now I can message them this video and it'll be easier on my life. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this video and let me know your favorite podcast down below. Thanks for watching.